Hi everyone, welcome to The Bridge. I'm your host, Kira Young, and you've reached me on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. We are simulcasting today with Real Liberty Media, and it is the 3rd of December, 2016, and it's a little after 4 in the afternoon Eastern Time. We are doing another NODAPL show for you tonight. We're doing stories from the front line, and we're going to do a little bit of a recap on events thus far so that we can put into context moving forward what we're facing in the week ahead, which is going to be pretty big. So Majikia has got a side job today, so I've invited my friend Vincent Easley to help out in the chat, and so he's going to be posting some links and things like that as we go through the show, so you guys can look further into the things that we're talking about today. First of all, there's absolutely no question about the tribe not responding to the DAPL, not responding to energy transfer partners, not objecting. There was an article that came out recently with, actually the tribe released the recording that they made in 2014 when they met with energy transfer partners and vehemently rejected their proposal to build through treaty land and underneath the river. They were very much against it from the start. So anybody who's sort of bought into the idea that the tribe just sort of suddenly out of nowhere started objecting has fallen for the propaganda put out by DAPL. So let's lay that to rest. That's absolutely not in question at all. The tribe has objected for years, and they've objected from the very beginning. Boom, end of story. And hey, Vincent, are you there?
I am here. I had to get around over here to this other computer and unmute myself, so well, hey, I'm not here.
Thanks so much for helping out. I do need you to look up the link to that, which you retweeted of mine like earlier this week. It's the recording. The tribe records their meeting with energy transfer partners, so there's no question. So I know you have that. I know you have that in your Twitter timeline. So if you get that,
I'm on
go
it
ahead.
now.
All right, slam it in the chat so people can check that out, and we can.
Yeah. So I'll be sharing these to, of course, freedomslips.com.
Absolutely.
If you're listening by phone and you have a computer, you can come over and join the chat there. Also at reallibertymedia.com, and there's also a chat room as well.
Yep. So either one or both. Hey, I would be in there if it wasn't a matter of bandwidth for me and broadcasting. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give a call. Here's another thing that's happened before I call, is that when I was there, there was no service at all in camp. And cracked.com has uncovered a super creepy real-life conspiracy involving why we didn't have service in camp, and it was, straight out of 1984 type of stuff. And what they were doing, Vincent, I'm slamming the link in Skype here so you can put it in the chats, and people can check out this cracked story that came out. So this is really, really interesting. And I experienced that when I was in camp at the beginning of November, about a month ago. We didn't get any service at all. So please read that and read how they now have service. And they have, phone service, because there's a group that got in there and figured out what the cops were doing. And once they figured out what the cops were doing, the cops couldn't do it anymore. And so a group of geeks got together, and they figured out how to make sure that that people in camp could get some cell service, which really put things to rest for me. I was really worried. Hey, Theresa, I'm just about to call you through Skype. Okay. All right. Talk to you in a minute. Okay, so that's one of my contacts there in camp. So we're going to be able to call them because they're no longer using the Stingray on them. And please read this article about all of the things that people were experiencing with their devices. It is true. I did experience it myself. So without further ado, let's talk to some people on the front line. They may even be able to talk to us right there in the teepee, where I got absolutely no cell coverage when we were there, and now they can actually get it's spotty because they're in a rural environment, but it's still there was no service whatsoever when I was there. Now there's just regular spotty, shitty, service instead of zapped from the sky service. I'm just going to keep calling it until she answers, because that's how I roll. Just going to make it happen.
Hi, Kira.
Hi, T. Yay, we got you. I was just welcome to the bridge, and I'm glad I'm going to get to have a longer conversation with you this time than last time. I was just telling the audience about how you guys have cell service now, and I don't know if you know about it, but the all of the stories that everybody was experiencing with their phones were true. The cops were doing that. Cracked.com uncovered that they were using some pretty sneaky devices on campers' phones. Yeah, so they used when they were flying the planes over. They were using these devices where they would kill people's batteries on their phone, and if you were trying to reach the cell tower, what they did was they used a device where they just constantly pinged the cell tower so nobody else could use it. So they
Wait, you said when did that happen?
That's when I was there, it was happening. But recently, Crack.com figured it out, and then there was this nerd group that came in and worked with Indigenous Environmental Network to get it fixed. And then also, once the story broke with Crack.com, they couldn't keep doing the same sneaky stuff because they didn't want to get further caught for more stuff that they're doing, because Cracked is only scratched the surface of the crazy stuff they were doing to our phones.
Oh, I'm so glad to know that, because while I was at camp over the last couple of months, there were times when I would make a phone call and my phone would be down, and it was charged, but it would just shut down. Or there was all kinds of wild stuff. A lot of phones shutting down and hearing background static and then funky noises, like the phone was being tapped.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, in the last week, I had 4 bars and 3G in places where I had 0 cell service before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good to know that. Yeah, I heard that something had been cracked, but I hadn't heard all those details. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Kira, I'm here with Megan, and I have you on speakerphone. Is it okay if we do it on speaker rather than
yes. But before so you're all gonna get in on this through speaker. Is that what you're saying? Get in on the conversation, or
Yep.
okay. All right, cool.
And Chuck is in another interview right now, so he'll be here too.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's tell the audience who you are. First of all, I just want to tell them that I met you while I was there, so we know each other like in person, and you make a little small cameo in the interview that I did with Stephanie Mesteth when I was there. I had to do recordings because there was no service, so I couldn't do any live streams or anything. And then it was super frustrating because even when we went to the casino, they wouldn't let us charge our phones or our laptops. And,
right.
So it was just like one frustrating thing after another. But we still managed to have quite a good time there, regardless of not being able to use our phones. So you, when did you first head to respond to the call and head to Standing Rock?
I first arrived at Standing Rock in early September, and I was around for about 2 weeks, and then I left for maybe 3 weeks or a month, and then came back. So overall, I've been at camp almost 2 months, but I was here for 2 weeks in September, and then left and came back. And it was just, I came back, it must have been October 25th or 24th maybe, because it was just a few days after I arrived that the raid on the 27th happened. So yeah, that's how long I've been around.
Okay, so when you came back, you moved into the treaty camp that was established right in the path of the pipeline. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so you were there for 2 days, and then you got raided and removed.
Yes, 3 days. Yep.
3 days.
Yeah.
But you didn't get arrested that day.
I didn't get arrested. No.
You managed to elude the fuzz, the coppers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so far you have in every action, and you participate in a lot of different actions. You're pretty much there on the front line all the time.
Yeah, I've participated in a lot of actions. Sometimes it's you can kind of decide how risky you want to be, and so, I mean, the police will arrest people randomly. So the Saturday before I arrived was when there were, I think, 141 arrests, and nobody was expecting to get arrested, but got arrested that day, or the majority weren't. So sometimes the police will snatch people and randomly arrest, but a lot of the time there's kind of a window where you can decide how close you want to be.
Right, and that Saturday before, that was the Saturday that Steph and Joe got arrested because they were kettled basically, and Zephyr and Unpa, they barely escaped getting arrested, and folks, if you look up my interview with Stephanie, The Bridge with Kira, featuring Stephanie Mesteth, she tells a story about how when they put those plastic ties on her hands and it went underneath her skin, they were so tight and they had to like surgically remove them basically, and so it messed up the nerves in her hands and stuff like that. It's pretty bad. So, and for anybody interested or wanting to help out your camp, there's in Luzon camp and Leon camp, Stephanie's, her family's one of the founders of Ocheti Shakaway camp, and they were in Sacred Stone first, but once Stephanie got arrested and they took her phone and she got it back, it doesn't work anymore, so she needs a new phone. If anybody has good access to a phone and wants to donate it to the movement, Steph really needs a phone, so contact me if you can help out. But I asked you before, I didn't really get the full answer when we talked at the very end of the last show, what about your motivation and answering the call. Being a Catholic girl from the Bay Area. Is that where you're from, or is that just where you live now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm from San Francisco. Yeah. So the question is, if I'm remembering right from last time and from what you just said, how did a Catholic girl from the Bay Area end up at Standing Rock? Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. Pretty much.
Yeah. So I think as a person who is Catholic, I believe in a Jesus who is living in occupied Palestine under the Roman Empire, and who was oppressed, and who was oppressed himself, and who also lived among people who were oppressed, and so I believe that it's that I've chosen to be here for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is because as a person who identifies as Christian, as Catholic, that we have to be standing in places with people, in solidarity with people who are oppressed, and be experiencing what it means to stand in solidarity, and sounds good.
Yeah, because there's different ideas about what Christianity really means, and I've gotten to experience some people who actually follow the teachings of Jesus instead of just this sort of Republican version of Jesus. So the kind of religion and spirituality that you're talking about is not this Republican version of Jesus that's pretty much the opposite of what the historical Jesus came to teach, I guess, if you really look at his story. Like you said, he was someone who was oppressed. He was someone who taught about your spirituality being standing in solidarity with oppressed people. So you're expressing your own religious beliefs by being there.
Yeah.
Why do you think, so most American Catholics don't really follow the Pope too much. They do, but they don't. They still kind of, work towards social justice, whether the Pope says anything about whatever social justice movement is going on at the time. I find it very curious that the Pope has not really said anything about Standing Rock, because he's been a Pope that's really said what a lot of us want to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's just been totally silent about it. So I wonder, because I don't think he wants to open that Pandora's box, so to speak, because once he starts opening that indigenous resistance box, then he'll have to face how the Catholic Church, has oppressed Native peoples, and how, the Vatican is filled with New World gold, stolen from indigenous tribes, that kind of thing. He'll have to face that if he gets into it. So that's
also the mission system within the Southwestern California that the Catholic Church started up.
Right. In California, so there's, for natives in the United States, there are federally recognized natives and there are state recognized natives. Federally recognized natives, you're in an area right now where we're talking about the Lakota, who are federally recognized and have treaties with the United States, with the federal government. In California, there are missions and rancherias. So the state recognizes the indigenous tribes in California, which were almost completely decimated by the gold rush. And the Catholic Church did participate in that. They did also in Lakota territory as well, I would say. There's a difference between, Catholic practice and the politics of the church. So there's normally, especially in America, a pretty huge schism between the two. the politics of the church and what the people really want and believe, and how they express their spirituality and their religious beliefs.
Yeah, for sure. I think Catholicism, and specifically Jesus, has been used to like justify white supremacy and manifest destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally, like he was saying, don't think Jesus was about that at all.
And yet, right now, this is Megan talking, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Hi, Megan. I just wanted to introduce you to everybody there. Did we meet when I was there? I don't think that we did, or did we?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And so, are you also Catholic, Megan?
Yeah, my family's Catholic, but I'm Palestinian.
You're Catholic and Palestinian. Oh, aren't you lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really identify as a Palestinian, certainly with natives, and that's why you've answered the call?
Yeah, exactly. Like, as another group of indigenous people who have, faced a genocide, have our land stolen, it would make no sense not to stand with Native people of this land.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when I was there, I had heard that there was Palestinian visitors to the camp, and then I guess when I left, you all came back as well, and you've been staying in Sinkaluzan and Wian camp?
Yeah. Yeah, so we had a Palestinian delegation in the middle of September, I believe,
mm-hmm.
and it was a group of us from Southern California. I'm part of an organization called the Palestinian Youth Movement, and I actually returned when I was first here, I was here for about a week, and then I recently returned about 2 weeks ago, and I actually came back by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we have plans for a larger Palestinian delegation starting in the middle of December.
Okay. Yeah. So, when you leave camp, do you also have the same feeling of, like where you're just worried about everybody there, and you want to and you pray for everyone's safety, and then when you see the things that are going on with the actions as the militarized police force is getting more and more violent against unarmed, nonviolent resistors and water protectors, it's traumatizing, and you just want to get back and help people and just be there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like, and it actually, a lot of the violence reminds me a lot of Palestine and the violence inflicted on Palestinians. So it's been a consistent reminder.
With the tanks and the LRAD and the sponge grenades and the tear gas.
Yeah, the tear gas.
Have they used water cannons on you yet?
Yeah, I was actually involved in the action on November 20th on Sunday. I was shot with the water cannon pretty good on my shoulder. I have some, I'm still in pain from it, and then I was also tear gas.
And you're the one whose hair was frozen, right? You had to go back and warm it. The hair was freezing. Yeah, we heard about that last week. Okay, putting it all in context.
Yeah, I didn't know hair froze.
Yeah. Yeah, it does in North Dakota when the when the sheriff shows up.
It was definitely a new experience, hair freezing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you all came back, and you got geared up again. Did you head back out? Did you get warmed up and then head back out with a gas mask, or did you were done for the night because your hair was frozen?
No, I went back and I changed my clothes, unfroze my hair, and I ate a little bit, and then we actually went back out, and I was back out there for a couple more hours, but it had calmed down at that point. For a little bit, it wasn't as violent, and then I went back and I slept for a couple of hours, and then I got up early in the morning and went back.
Wow. It was
a long
lasted all night?
Yeah, it went on throughout the night, and then it continued on until, I want to say, maybe midday or early morning, around maybe 10 or 11 or 12, somewhere around there it stopped, and the elders basically decided that, that we needed to come back, and that,
Yeah, so what happened, everybody has seen now what happened on the 20th with the water cannons and with the tear gas and the concussion grenades, that one of which destroyed Sophia Walensky's arm. All of the head wounds, the freezing people, we've seen that. And what happened, to put that into context, was the police were saying that the roadblock was the protesters' fault, and so that it was they were posing the danger because of the roadblock. And so the water protectors were like, well, let's clear it then, let's get this thing, so we can get emergency vehicles, so we can get supplies in from the north as well. Plus they have the whole camp basically cut off from the north. The only way you can get in and out is one road through the reservation. So they started to dismantle it, and that is how the police responded. Since then, there's been quite a bit that's happened in terms of going back and forth. Initially, the Army Corps of Engineers issued a eviction. The water protectors said we're not going anywhere. Then they said we won't forcibly remove you. Then the blizzard came, and the Morton County sheriffs and the governors said that they were going to close the camp after, what was the day they were going to close the camp? The 5th? Custer's birthday, right? They're going to close it. And so there's been a whole series of back and forths about that, about whether it's legal for them to even do that, because the tribe is federally recognized. So they respond to the federal government. They don't respond to the state, or they shouldn't, under this federal recognition situation. So something's going to happen on the 5th. A huge contingent of veterans are coming to form a human shield around the water protectors. They were horrified by the events of the 20th and then 21st that you were describing being part of, Megan. And T, you weren't around for that, were you?
No, I was out of town for about a week. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so like myself, you probably saw it and were horrified and were just worried about everybody and just traumatized by it. It's really hard to see.
Yeah.
When you love the people, and I are being brutalized.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it felt, it was really hard being away from here when that happened. And I think one of the things that shift is it's not just generally being worried about the water protectors or being horrified at what's happening. It's worrying about Megan and Unpa and Kat and, all the people that Zephyr and Steph and Joe and all the people that I formed relationships with. So, yeah, it was really hard being away from here. And also, I think, having been here on other intense days, like 27th of October, and knowing some of the, and obviously every time that happens is different and people's experiences are different, but knowing some of the intensity of when it gets really violent and when there's such an intense militarized police presence, what that can feel like, and knowing firsthand just the how traumatic that can be. It was hard knowing that my people were here.
Yeah.
And it also creates a sense of urgency to return, I think. Like, there's this need to just be back when things start to go down here.
Yeah, you just want to be back there helping out. I don't know if you guys know this, but on the 1st of December, the chief judge for the District of North Dakota, Daniel L. Hovland, rejected the request for a temporary restraining order to prevent law enforcement agencies from using the impact munitions that they're using on the people there, and they rejected it on a sort of a technical reason, which is inhuman. It was the request was part of a class action suit that was filed on behalf of the protesters, water protectors, because there's so many injuries from the day of from the 20th and the 21st. There's just ridiculous amount. So, and it's illegal, but the federal judge said, well, screw you. Go ahead and continue because you didn't get this one piece of paper in. Just go ahead and continue to brutalize them. That's kind of,
wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to put a little, I'm going to put a link there that I want Vincent, my producer for today, to slam into the chats, and that's about the judge and why he's going to continue to allow use of grenades against unarmed water protectors. Not cool at all. The drone footage is another issue. The drone footage is catching the police in every single one of their lies, and so the FAA is saying they don't want any drones in the sky. Well, really, that's just the police saying we don't want to get caught in our lies anymore, because I think Kyle Kirchmeier just got a talking to by the Justice Department. Let me see if I can find that link too for everybody. So he doesn't, and also his Facebook page was scrubbed when the Anonymous hacked into their page. They scrubbed all that information, but I'm sure Anonymous and other people got their videos saved, because they, in every single one of their press conferences, they have lied. and it's like a lie that they were easily caught in, because there was footage that told the opposite story. It's amazing, isn't it, how people in charge can lie with no consequence? It's always amazed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's bizarre to see that they were just trying to put out the fires with the water cannons. Like, It was quite clear in the videos and like being there that was not their intention at all. And people ignore the fact that the fires were started to keep people warm after being sprayed with the water, so people wouldn't get hypothermia. Like, so it completely ignores the fact of like why the fire was even there.
Yes. Yep. And everybody was saying that it was after people were getting frozen hair that they started fires to warm people up. So, and in the footage just showed the water cannons aimed directly at people's heads and things like that. So it was pretty obvious. I don't know if there will be any success in the petition to remove Kyle Kirchmeier from the Morton County Sheriff, but he can get voted out, so let's do that. I'm also going to slam another petition in here to remove Kirchmeier. But also the governor had a really bad week as well, because he's being seen for the monster that he's acting like as well. So, and people are starting to question him. He's in hot water over using the EMAC system, which is the emergency management system where states ask other states for help during emergencies. His actions for even declaring an emergency are called into question. And I would definitely urge the Standing Rock Sioux chair, Dave Archambault, to declare his own emergency. If he has the unique government-to-government relationship that the federal government says that he has now in emergency management law, then he can declare his own state of emergency. And he should, while Obama's in there. Right now. That would be my advice. So I hope he does that. Are you both planning on being there on the 5th?
Yeah, we do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we plan on staying.
Good. And have you seen the influx of veterans?
I've heard that some have come in. I know that a lot are scheduled to come in tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know all the details on it. It's really interesting, even as you're talking. Sometimes the information that people get outside of camp in terms of detailed things that are going on politically and whatnot are more extensive when you have access to internet outside of camp. And we're seeing all the first-hand things that are happening, but a lot of the other details we don't really get out here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tomorrow, Congresswoman Gabbard, I think her name's Gabbard, from Hawaii, is going, and she's also a veteran. She's going to join the large contingent, which is thousands. The Veterans for Standing Rock organization actually couldn't keep up with the number of people who wanted to join and assist. So this is a good thing. There also was a press conference by another group of local veterans who were like, hey, we're not into this. They were very clear about that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was recently in Bismarck helping out the medics, because the medics received a lot of donations within Monday and Tuesday, they'd received over 7,000 packages. So the post office actually basically shut down and was only receiving packages for Standing Rock. And so I went to help them out with unloading and reloading the trucks. And while we were there, the folks who worked in the post office were very hostile, and they were throwing a lot of shade at us, just constantly making comments. And they were obviously really not happy that we were there. So locally, Bismarck's not too thrilled about the presence of folks in Standing Rock.
So the packages were coming into Bismarck, or were they coming into Cannonball?
They're coming into Bismarck.
Oh, okay. And there was that whole rumor. Well, actually, it wasn't a rumor. The sheriff said he was going to start fining people $1,000 for bringing in food and supplies to Standing Rock. And then when he was reminded that was illegal by the Justice Department, he kind of backed down from that a little bit. But Unpa Numpa had informed me that you were there, Megan, and I said, well, then as a Palestinian, she should probably be used to those sanctions, and
yeah.
But the thing that's going on here is it seems like the more that they sanction us, the more support we get, the more outraged. Normal, regular, everyday sort of average Americans get about it once they know what's really going on, because it's pretty outrageous. But to put everything in context, what's going on at Standing Rock is the current expression of a very long movement for indigenous sovereignty and enough sovereignty to, in order to caretake and protect the land and the water and the people from the aggression of manifest destiny that we still are looking at happening right now in the form of this corporatism and big oil having a private security company that calls itself the local sheriff, but it's really their standing army.
Yeah. I think, for being Palestinian and being here, a lot of these experiences really remind me of what people have to consistently go through, like you were saying, the blockades, the food blockades on Gaza, the way that a few years back they had a dietary restriction on how many calories were allowed in each individual, just a minimum amount in order to survive. Chocolate's considered a luxury. From the 2014 bombing of Gaza, they haven't allowed any building material in, so a single building has been rebuilt. And then also, like, going through the checkpoints, because I went back to Palestine about 3 years ago now. It was my first time there, and I was, every time I'd travel anywhere through Palestine, I would get taken out of the bus at gunpoint, and instead of, like, being able to pass through with the rest of the U.S. citizens, I actually had to walk through the checkpoint with other Palestinians, which I was totally fine with. I would have appreciated not having the gun pointed at me.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been nice.
Because you were unarmed as well.
Yeah, I was unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the tear gas and a lot of the pepper sprays are actually tested on Palestinians and brought to the U.S. through there. Israel's 25% of its income is through military train, like not military training, but military weapons. Aid and so, like, a lot of what it sells to the U.S. has already been tested on us.
Wow, that's disgusting.
And there's also the ties with the United States giving Israel like $2.8 billion a year, where that funding could go to helping people here, and it totally just goes to military spending and the continuous genocide and occupation of my homeland.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's from an indigenous perspective, we're occupied here too by the same army that is, you know, it's empire. It's all empire.
Yeah, for me, this battle isn't like, this battle just, they're one of the same. Like, if we can fight this battle here, it's like fighting a battle in Palestine. A win here is a win there.
I agree. And I hope I do meet you. I'm sad that we sort of missed each other, but I'm happy to meet you now and be able to talk to you.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And Kira, just so you know, Unpa did arrive.
Oh, he did?
So it's all three of us here now.
Okay. Hi, Unpa Numpa.
Hey, Kira. It's good to hear your voice again.
Good to hear you, too. I hear you're popular. You got another interview going on earlier. That's good.
Yeah, and, I'm kind of, I appreciate the interest. I do, but my enthusiasm for interviews outside of your show is definitely waning at this point. There's enough talking heads out here to sustain the mainstream and underground media at this point. And I feel, honestly, Kieran, I do want to thank you for having me on the show again. I'm deeply appreciative for this, and I'd like to say hello to all your listeners, and thank those in particular that have offered real support to Ochete Shikoi, if not Sinkala Wutsaha and Wiakam. Every single donation is used in as good a way as possible. We are rather overwhelmed with donations at this point from across the world. So, just thank you very much to you, and thank you very much to your listeners for all the support.
Wonderful. That's so good to hear that that you're getting the support that you need, and that's kind of how it happens, right? You get overwhelmed by when people respond to the call, and just like things started there in April with the prayer camp in Sacred Stone. And they did ceremony and prayed, and then they put the call out, and then people responded. People started responding in August. So it's been 3 months of action, 3 months of solidarity, and this building of, as I was saying earlier, that Standing Rock is a current expression of a very long movement, about 500 years long, right?
I totally agree. And what Ochete Shikoi is the evidence of how long it has taken us to recover from complete colonization and Christianization by the American government and its people. It took us this long to get our collective act together so that we can start to begin speaking as one, acting as one, with a common purpose and a common goal. That has been the real blessing of Ochete Shikoing, are the alliances and the friendships that are being forged and have been forged since August. It is up to us who really care about the issues that Ochete Shikoing is addressing to sustain this now. I've been advocating for a long time now that we can't let the end of DAPL be the end of the movement. It needs to be sustained, and I, at this point, firmly believe it will be. As I know you are aware, Kira, and all my Facebook friends, Steph Mestis, our camp lieutenant, calls them Unpa Loonies. I've been advocating for spiritual resistance camps across the country, wherever there is tribal land, so that we can get out from underneath land that either the federal government or any state government could remove us from.
Right.
If you have tribal land, or if you're aware of tribal land, and you want to sustain the movement, then start a camp. A camp can start with one tent, one teepee, one lodge, and people will come. Ochete Shikoing is evidence that we are not only a local story, national story, but indeed an international story at this point. I often look around the camp these past week or two, and I just can't help but think to wonder, what if we had these numbers back in August? Where would this black snake be if this type of support showed up? It is unfortunate that it took the brutalization of our people broadcast on underground media and other outlets that really awakened people to what was happening. When in reality, this brutalization has been occurring ever since they showed up here.
Yes.
If we had these type of numbers to start with, it would have stopped the black snake. Now that we have these numbers, and the black snake is nearly completed, save for going underneath the Missouri River under Lake Awwad, we need to find a way to use these numbers to address all the black snakes currently in planning, currently under construction. We need to start turning our attention to other areas where government and industry have this incestuous relationship. Uranium mining, coal mining, and the oligarchs like the chairman of the Nestle Corporation saying water is not a human right.
Right.
Ochete Shikoing is not just about a pipeline. It's not just about NODAPL. It has to be about Mini Lichoni. Water is life. And Mini Lichoni is a way of thinking. It's a way of living, where you recognize that the resources we have available to us are finite, and that the environment is being destroyed at the hands of government and corporation. Ochete Shikoing should be the stand that needs to be taken against this, to see meaningful change in the United States and throughout the world, where we stop this wanton destruction of the environment and begin addressing real human needs. One of my favorite organizational names I heard is Food Not Bombs. That is a part of Mini Lichoni. All people who believe that human beings need to be placed first over property or money need to be a part of this movement, because we are seeing with the election of Donald Trump the possibility that this country is going to go even further towards fossil fuels, towards further environmental degradation and destruction. We need to make a stand. If you care about your children or your grandchildren living in a habitable planet and drinking clean, safe water, you need to join this movement. You need to support this movement in any real way that you can. Prayers, of course, are always welcome and needed, but real material support is needed. And active planning for more spiritual camps is needed right now. And I would encourage your listeners, particularly those who are indigenous in the United States, to approach their family, their friends, their fellow tribal members, so that we can begin these camps, begin a sustained resistance in the United States. It is long overdue, and it seems that time has come.
Indeed it has. Yeah, as we speak, there's more and more corporatism destroying the environment and destroying our health, and destroying the health of our planet. And like you said, it's this evil teamwork that the government and their corporations do just to steamroll over life for profit. And everybody who thinks that's wrong has to participate in the resistance to make it right. Because this machine will not do the right thing. It doesn't know how. It only knows how to destroy for profit. And we have to destroy it.
We have to destroy it. We have to be the tools against the machine, and we are. It is an active resistance at this point, and hopefully it will be sustained. Now, Kira, I've shared often, especially lately, as I look at Ochete Shikoi, perhaps winding down at this point, that this fight was always personal for me, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and my sister passed away last November, crossed over within a few weeks of each other from liver cancer. I myself have liver disease. We are poisoned already.
Right.
Fighting the black snake is a part of trying to save what is left, trying to prevent immediate and imminent threat to our water supply. That is why I came here, was to fight a personal fight for my people's treaty rights. We are fighting in our ancestral homeland at Ochete Shikoi. I'm proud of this. I came to Ochete Shikoi to protect the Missouri River. My family has been on the Missouri River for more generations than can be known for sure. I am defending what is a part of me, what's in my DNA, who I am, against oligarchs, against corporations, against the U.S. Army now.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to sacrifice all that I have to with the rest of my life to continue this movement, to continue this fight for a sustainable world, for a better world. And the more I think about it, Kira, the more I realize our ancestors had it right. They truly did, with the respect for all around us. The realization that man is not above any other creature on this planet, but rather an equal partner. We have a responsibility as human beings who have the type of technology that we have the type of thinking skills that we have, to begin applying that to a better world and not a more profitable world.
Yeah, well, profit is an illusion, isn't it? that you're actually gaining.
It's all a game.
Yep. And you see how even especially with this particular oil, the oil that comes from the Bakken oil fields. Okay, we'll talk about it when we get back. We're going to take a 5-minute break, or 3-minute. Be right back.
We will be here, Kira. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hey, welcome back to The Bridge with Kira. It's the 3rd of December, and it's the 2nd hour. It's 5 o'clock Eastern, and we're having another NODAPL show. And we're talking about how this movement is the current expression of a much larger movement. And we were joined in the first hour by T, a nice Catholic girl from San Francisco who is part of her religious expression to stand in solidarity with people being oppressed. And we talked to Megan, who's a Palestinian who feels the same way, very much oppressed by really the same oligarchical forces that is oppressing natives right now in this time. And then we were joined by Unpa Numpa, who's been telling us his family story since August about this particular expression of the movement. And so this second hour, we're going to get to what's ahead. We've tried to put things into context about some of the things that have happened in the past. And so now we want to look at what's ahead. So welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, Unpa Numpa. Y'all there?
Hello. Thank you. Yes, Unpa actually had to step out for a minute. But
okay.
So it's just Megan and T.
Okay, welcome back, Megan and T, and then maybe he will come back in before the end of the show because we have another hour. I'm slamming a link in for Vincent. There was a young lady who was told to dress like an Indian for a school project, and she came in a NODAPL shirt that she had made for herself, and she enlightened her school class about the movement, and I thought that was pretty smart of her. Raising a Native child myself, who we live in an area where there aren't many Natives, and so he's often put in the sort of position to represent for all Natives, which is not real easy. But this young lady was the African American young lady, and so in solidarity, she thought it would be a good idea to enlighten her classmates to what's going on. So check that link out, everybody. And I also want to talk about some of the articles that have been going around about non-Native allies. So I wrote a blog piece about it this week, and people kind of freaked out because they were just really responding to the title of it rather than the content of it. People do that a lot, I guess, on social media. And on my blog, it's called They're All Just a Bunch of Burning Man Hippies and Other Dehumanizing Memes. And the way that I'm using the word meme here is about an idea that spreads through social media and other forms about people. And so I traced the how this meme kind of got started and how it sort of got out of control. And then I watched, after I released that into the world, people sort of argue about it and then come back a little bit from it. And so the main point of that, and you can go on my blog, it's called Psychopaths in Charge, and it's at www.kyoung4.wordpress.com. My main point in writing the article is that it's time for people involved in social justice movements to really get wise to how the alt-right works. And I thought that this particular story was a way to illustrate how the alt-right works, in that they put stories out there that have the dressing of social justice concern, when underneath it, it's actually just as dehumanizing as anything else they put out there. So the narrative of these stories about the Burning Man hippie folks coming in and being all disrespectful and, just wanting to party, that's actually a meme that benefits the oppressors, because it puts a narrative out there that says the natives have lost control of this camp. It's not even natives there anymore. It's just a bunch of white people that are partying. It's just a bunch of hippies. And so what may have started as a sort of off-the-cuff comment about a group of people that came through, or a small minority of people that are there, can blow out of control in social media and in the media, and it can feed a narrative that we don't want it to feed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah,
so I really wanted to communicate, and I'm really glad that both of you are here today to also illustrate how non-Native allies are a very important part of this movement, and have not been coming in and taking over and being disrespectful, but have actually been coming in, participating, and resisting side by side on the front line. So that's really the truth of the matter, and so that's the narrative that I wanted to highlight in the face of that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I for sure think there are a lot of non-Native folks who are here with really good intentions to stand in solidarity, and who understand that we're living in a settler colonial genocidal state. And I think knowing that you have the people who do come in with that knowledge are really here to listen to Native voices. And of course you have the very few who come here without great intentions and try and tell Native folks what to do. But a lot of times they do get shut down, and I think that's the important part about it, is making sure that at the forefront are Native folks.
Right. And
yeah, I think...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that, what Megan said. I also think it's so complicated because a lot of people come in not knowing how to be in a space as an ally, and so there's a really big process of people coming in and learning what does it look like to be an ally, and making a lot of mistakes in that. So certainly there are people that come in with, I would say the majority are coming in with good intentions, and there's a minority that come in without good intentions. I also think there's a huge group of people who are coming in with good intentions who just don't know how to conduct themselves as allies. So, like, for example, every night there's a decolonization workshop that happens in the evening, and it's a really amazing space. Every other night it's allies are welcome, and then the other night is only for people of color and indigenous folks, and it's a really amazing space where people are having conversations, open conversations about what does it look like to be an ally in this space. So I think that's been really helpful, but yeah, it's pretty complicated.
Yeah, I think that, like, coming in, like, there needs to be a lot of work done beforehand, and while here, like, it's always, I mean, we always have work to do, you know, so nobody's perfect.
Right. And in order to have meaningful cross-cultural work and development, you have to be willing to sort of have those awkward moments where, teachable moments where you learn about cultural differences. That's part of the process, and it's okay. And it doesn't, it doesn't make the people, like you said, nobody's perfect, and you can't possibly know what the cultural norms are of another culture. You're going there to learn, and so keeping that in mind too. And that's a complexity that doesn't get translated into social media too well, or into other forms of media. It's a complexity that's missed, I think, even in alternative media.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely agree. Like, I don't think people talk about this.
Yeah, they don't. Just on my show. Because this is a bridge. There's a reason I called it the Bridge with Kira, because this is where I want the clash of cultures to work itself out. Because I'm a mixed-blooded person myself, so the clash of cultures is always alive within me. And so I'm always working to understand it, if that makes sense. It does. Yeah. So I like to talk about it. I like to work it out. And I don't want, our own identity also is something that's not static. It's something that changes as we grow and develop and learn more about ourselves and who we are and why we're here, and what our gifts are. So, for myself and my own changing identity as a mixed person, I've had a lot of uncomfortable moments, and I have benefited from them every time. So I would encourage people that maybe are even a little scared to enter into, because it is a different world. I mean, the indigenous world, there's a reason we call it, different worlds, because it's a very, very different world. To go ahead and be willing to move through those awkward moments and learn, and because it can take you someplace really important that you're meant to go.
Yeah.
So you may find yourselves in the Black Hills or something. You never know where this will lead you. This stand in solidarity. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that also, like, there are a lot of Palestinian solidarity groups as well, and I think one of the largest things that ends up happening is a lot of the times allies try and tell us how we feel, how we should feel, or how we should go about things. And I think that, like, really working on how to stand in solidarity is important, and it shouldn't just be like writing a statement. It should be physically being there for people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also, as one of the struggles we have in the Palestinian community is being in diaspora, a lot of us feel that we can't speak for Palestinians living in Palestine because they go through a very different experience than Palestinians who are born and grow up here. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the things that we as Palestinians have to learn is that our diaspora is also part of being Palestinian. So I think there's like different aspects to understanding solidarity and our own identities.
Right, absolutely. And it's interesting that you bring that up because, for myself as someone who's mixed and of Southeastern Native, I'm heritage, I'm Choctaw, I'm Scots-Irish, from Appalachia and the Gulf region. And, we were always taught that we could not speak for those who had to take the Trail of Tears, for instance. So my tribe was on the Trail of Tears. And I'm descended from the people who stayed behind. And so there's this guilt. There's this guilt that we escaped that horror. And there's that's part of my changing identity, is working through that. And what I was taught, like I could never claim my heritage because of that, because I didn't have to go through the Trail of Tears, because I didn't grow up on a reservation. So I've always said to people who call me a wannabe, for instance, because I look, of course, very white, because I am mostly Scots-Irish, is that I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not, but I'm also not trying to not be what I am.
Yeah.
So,
and I
don't know.
And I think also in those narratives where we're told that, hey, you can't talk about that, it really ignores the transgenerational trauma that gets passed down. It doesn't take into account the trauma that is alive and well in our families. And I think that shouldn't be ignored either. And I think it's part of our indigenous identities.
Yes.
This confusion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, in raising my son, whose father's full-blooded, I want his identity to be solid, because mine wasn't. But he will struggle just as much, and even his father, who's full-blooded, he's half one tribe and half another. So there's still cultural divides there as well, and the difference between the reservation Indian and the city Indian. So you can be a full-blooded native and still grow up in the city, and there's, when you go to the reservation, you're going to be treated like an outsider. So there's a lot of that stuff. Plus we have blood quantum laws put into place, and that's a real mind screw right there. It's government policy that's meant to breed us out of existence. And so then we start defining ourselves by, mathematics, then we disappear. So what I've put forth, the idea that I've put forth in this show since I began it, is that there really is no such thing as race. That's something that's made up to justify this idea of a hierarchy within humans. All we really have is culture. And when we focus on race as if it exists, we really forget about culture, and then it's further degraded and destroyed. We lose our languages and our traditions and the things that really matter when we're focusing on race that doesn't exist. Because the reality of human beings is that we all like to travel and we all like to have sex. And that's what we've been doing since the beginning of time. So we're all mixed.
Yeah.
Even those of us who think of us as pure in some form or another, we're all mixed. So, what we have to hit on is culture. We have language, and we have, the right way to live and the wrong way to live. And so what's unique about the indigenous, beyond the different cultures within that consider themselves indigenous, is that we realize that there's a right way to live and a wrong way to live. And all indigenous people have been oppressed in the same way because of that realization, because we know that the machine that steamrolls over life for profit is the wrong way to live. And we seek to live in balance in how we've been taught to live.
Yeah. I think like land is really central to indigenous identities. And I recently, when I went back from Standing Rock the first time, we did a report back. And in my report back, I actually discussed the ways in which, or I compared the way that buffalo here is important in the same way that olive trees are important in Palestine. And in both of those examples, there's the physical genocide of both the buffalo and the olive tree, and they're used as tools to try and destroy us culturally and our dependency on the land. And so I really find that the way the settlers burn our olive trees and the way that the buffaloes were killed here really symbolizes the physical genocide, but also the resistance, because buffaloes are still here and olive trees are still growing. So I think land is so central, and land is used as a tool to destroy us too.
Right. And so this form of indigenous resistance right now to this particular pipeline is part of, again, a larger story of resistance to that genocide. So so when the sheriff of Morton County says he's going to pull people over and fine them $1,000 for bringing supplies, it's just another expression of that same genocidal rage against the people whose only crime is being born here, being from here, being indigenous to here or to North Dakota. So there you go. And it's the same thing, starve the people, because the people of Palestine depended on those olive trees to sustain themselves. And the people of North Dakota depended on those buffalo to sustain themselves. And there's really, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's Custer's birthday that they've given as the eviction date. Whether it's just a sync in the system, a synchronicity, or whether it was a purposeful act, doesn't really matter. It just is.
Yeah, I agree with that, Kira, completely. They are, what I see is fear on their part continuing, incredible fear.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate. I was arrested on October 27th during the clearing of the treaty camp. And as you know, I was recently cleared. Although the felony charge for conspiracy to endanger by fire was dropped against me and over 100 other people. We see the sheriff and others using old tactics, continuing to this day, because they don't know how to deal with the resistance we are putting up. Government is coercion. Government is violence. When we have responded in a nonviolent manner to their horrific violence, they have shown they don't know how to respond to it. So they have given us a blueprint for moving forward with this movement where we must remain committed to nonviolent principles, because they have no weapon to fight back with it. We have engendered incredible support because of what people have witnessed. I know Zephyr was on the show last week, Zephyr Elise, my niece, my beloved niece, and she spoke about what happened on that bridge, Kira, and I saw it too. When I arrived there, we had heard on the radios that we were monitoring that they were shooting our people. with what they call non-lethal ammunition. And when I got up there, I saw police laughing and smiling as they shot people. I was given a megaphone and asked to speak to the police. At many of the actions I went to, I was at the front line talking to the police in a good way, not verbally abusing them, but trying to educate them. You know, the fact that they swore an oath to uphold their Constitution, and their Constitution now lays in ashes in North Dakota, in Morton County, in Burleigh County, in Sioux County. They have destroyed it. They don't know how to respond to us. I saw incredible strength and fortitude on that bridge on the behalf of hundreds of our people. They began firing tear gas onto the bridge, and far from panic and far from retreat, we saw our people cope with it in a good way, remain in prayer, and stand strong against horrific government violence. They stood still on that bridge in prayer, in meaningful resistance. All around us, people were being shot and sprayed with freezing water on a sub-freezing night. While concussion grenades were exploding around us, we stood our ground. And I really think that scared them, Kira. And I think that's part of the reason why we saw the December 5th evacuation order. Hundreds of people, if not thousands, have demonstrated they are willing to sacrifice everything, up to and including their lives, in resistance to this black snake, in resistance to government corporation using armies to put down peaceful, prayerful protests, to maintain profits for pipelines and oligarchs. We have scared them. We have taught them a lesson. I'm very proud of everyone who was at that bridge that night. The numbers that I hear of those injured and that I saw are simply stunning. As people were being evacuated in private cars that lined up one after the other to take the injured back to Ochete Shokolin camp, it filled me with immense pride. It brought back ancestral memory, historical trauma to me.
Yeah.
And it's something I thought about often since that night, Kira, and looking at the video footage. You know, I was on the megaphone and identifying the police who were shooting us and ordering them to stop shooting us, but there was no threat to them, asking them where was the threat. And before I knew it, the young man standing next to me, a young Indian man, was shot with a rubber bullet. He went down immediately. Others rushed to his aid immediately. Right after he got shot to my left, they detonated a concussion grenade in midair. I wasn't even sure what it was. It was just this loud bang that I heard to the left of me, and I saw smoke. And then right after that, I was very disoriented. I didn't know where I was. And my comrade who was standing next to me, she told me, "We've been gassed." All I was wearing was a keffiyeh around my head at that time. And when I got my bearings, I used that keffiyeh to cover my mouth. And the last thing I said in the megaphone was, "Stay calm, stay in prayer." And I barely got those words out as my throat constricted and I felt the burning, had the acrid taste in my mouth, pain starting to shoot in my forehead. And I made my way up to the bridge. I was down in the ditch along the razor wire. And when I got up to the bridge, then he tried to offer assistance, but I was okay. I was just coughing and just trying to get out of there. Well, me and my campmates went back to our camp. We took off all our clothes that had been exposed to the gas. We sipped some tea. We prayed. And then we got on rain ponchos and waterproof gear, gas masks and goggles, rubber gloves, and we went right back to the front line. That is the type of spirit that is here. That is the type of will our people have to see this through. I cannot say how proud I am of everyone who was at the bridge that night and stood their ground in a good way, in a prayerful way.
I'm really proud too. And I thank you for telling us that story. It's incredibly moving. And it actually helps me out because we were talking earlier about how traumatizing T was away. I had just left you guys just to see that and know that people you know and love are there taking that abuse and, see people bleeding on the ground with head wounds. And it's just to know that there was also the help and assistance, and there was also the spirit of, I'm here because I want to be here. And I've come back because I'm ready. Amazing.
That's great, Kira. And as you know, Zinkala Uzaha and Wina camp, we're a frontline camp. Everybody who was in camp that night, every adult, was at the front lines and was exposed to gas. Some of us are still recovering from that tear gassing. Some of us are still recovering from wounds from rubber bullets from that night.
Mm-hmm.
That is the type of spirit, that is the type of resistance that will sustain our movement, that will carry us forward into the future, post Ochete Shokoli.
And however detailed you want to get, we've talked offline about how some decisions are going to have to be made, because once the Trump regime gets in, things are really going to change, and there's going to have to be some tactical changes that go on as well moving forward.
I agree totally, Kira. As we know, the man is a proven liar, a sociopath, and he is about ready to become president of the United States. He has personally invested in the Dakota Access Pipeline. I think we have to take the man at his word when he makes the statements that he does about our Muslim brothers and sisters, when he makes the statement that he does about our Mexican brothers and sisters. I foresee these people, they call them Republicans, but it's more than just Republicans, with designs of instituting American apartheid eventually here. If they had their way, I believe it would already be in place.
Mm-hmm.
That this was a country founded by white people and for white people, and that the indigenous population and the African-American population and all of the non-whites were meant to be the servants for what they consider to be the real citizens of this country. The founding document of this country gives rights only to white male property holders, excluding women, specifically excluding Native Americans from citizenship. This was the vision of the founding fathers. Mm-hmm. And I believe this is the vision that their descendants today wish to carry on with.
Yes, not all of them. I'm sure there's a few allies in those descendants, but yes, this is the now openly spoken, open appointments of white supremacists, openly speaking about how they believe white people are superior, and they will move forward openly with that belief. And in a way, I know this is sounding weird, but it's a blessing that they're open about it, because if the oppressor doesn't even admit to, just keeps gaslighting as they have in the past, like for instance with the mascot issue, that mocking equals honoring. So we'll mock you, openly mock you, and when you get mad about it, we'll tell you that actually we're honoring you and you have no right to be upset. So at least now we've moved to the point where they're openly saying what they actually really believe. And so
very good point. Yes, they are.
Yeah, all people of conscience can now say, no, that's not, even those who voted for Trump, who maybe just didn't like Hillary, because she's also a sociopath too. I mean, but just, a less lethal sociopath, right? For us anyway.
Well, luckily we'll never have the opportunity to find that out, just how deranged her psychosis is.
Right, right. But I think, another thing that came into play during the election is that basically the hatred of women in this country. Women are hated.
Indeed. Misogyny on parade, misogyny on steroids in this country.
Right.
I am the father of 4 daughters, and I cannot, just like most people of conscience, express my outrage at the women who voted for Donald Trump,
mm-hmm.
at the non-whites who voted for Donald Trump. What were you thinking? Just what, I am disgusted with the American system. I am disgusted with the federal government. I stand in opposition to those, but for me to manifest that disgust in a vote for a lying sociopath like Donald Trump it could never happen. I could never bring myself to do that as a way of expressing, my dissatisfaction with the current system. They have empowered and emboldened the worst elements of American society in this election. This election has laid bare the corrupt nature of the entire system, where the loser is going to, by the time all the ballots are counted, have over 3 million more votes than the winner. What kind of system is that? And then the loser was also got to her position as the nominee through what was exposed as a rigged system as well within the Democrat primary.
Right.
I mean, the entire thing is rotten to the core. It always has been. The lies contained in the Declaration of Independence, the lies contained in the U.S. Constitution as they were written, all men are created equal, was a lie before the ink dried.
Right.
Liberty and justice for all was a lie before the ink dried. I was in a conversation on Facebook. As you know, I don't get on Facebook too often. But I got into a comment thread where I made the assertion all land in this country is Indian land. And the kid said, well, he's a white kid, that his ancestors did that 300 years ago. How can he be responsible? And I responded to him by saying, you have benefited from murder, rape, theft, invasion, and genocide your whole life. What are you going to do about it now? And he never did answer. That is what I can say to people. You can say my ancestors did that. I didn't do it, but you have benefited directly from their actions. What are you going to do about it now that you know the truth?
Yep. Because moving forward, it's time to move beyond, but I didn't do anything. It's like, yep, you didn't do anything. So what are you going to do with that truth in mind?
I'll tell you, Kira, I already see it in our camp, and you've seen it too. Theresa Martin is a young woman who I have the tremendous respect for. I have seen all she has done at Ochete Shikoin. She is doing something about it.
Yeah.
She is not alone. As you know, there was a young woman who came from Colorado who I have great care for, great love for, her and her mother both. She came and spent a week with us and did remarkable work, did everything. She split wood for the first time in her life to help camp out. She volunteered in kitchen. She volunteered sorting donated clothing. And then she was on the front lines as well. And, when she was witnessing what was happening, she yelled out at the police. And I asked her, is that the first time you ever yelled at the police? She said, well, it's the first time where they could hear me where I yelled at them. It is that type of awakening that we need to happen among our non-Indigenous allies, and particularly white people. You can join this movement. You need to be a part of this movement, because this isn't an Indigenous movement. It's a movement for the human race. And the more we get that message out there, we are prayerful, we are nonviolent, and we are doing this for the future of all people, more will come to us, more will join, more will see the need to do such.
Absolutely. And that's another reason why I had written that blog piece about the whole Burning Man hippie thing, is because I wanted people to know the truth about the non-native allies that are in camp. The vast majority are very respectful, really pitching in, really going beyond, above and beyond, to pitch in and be part of this movement and be part of the community that's evolving in Ochete Shakaway. So.
Yes, indeed. Kira, as some of your listeners might be aware, and you are fully aware, my family arrived before there was Ochete Shakaway. We arrived on August 12th. And the first of our first couple nights there, my daughter and I slept in her car in what is now the Sichongu camp on the south side of the Cannonball River. We slept in her car, and we were the only ones there. And we have seen all of the people that have come and gone over the past 4 full moons here. And I noticed the ones who keep coming back. And they are the ones that are closest to me, that I hold in my heart, that I would do anything for at this point, because they have sacrificed their own personal lives. They have sacrificed time with their family, with their friends. They have sacrificed work. They have sacrificed school. They've given up apartments, given up car payments in order to come back and remain as much as possible. Some people have been there as long as I have after the start of Ochete Shikoi. These are the people I respect. These are the people that I will seek to work with when this comes to an end. And here I really am of the belief, and I think you are too, all of us are, who are fully cognizant of what is happening and all the forces at play, that Ochete Shikoi is not long for this world.
Right.
So what we have to do is take that spirit and continue it, the spirit of Ochete Shikoi, and keep it alive.
And, we've had conversations before about self-rule, sovereignty and anarchy, what anarchy really means, what self-rule, and about how that really works locally and in small groups. And we might not have any control over the fact that this world is run by an elite group of psychopaths. But we can unplug from their system one plug at a time. And we can begin to use our energy for us instead, as we see their game and as we see how they steal our energy by creating new, more invisible forms of slavery for us to make our way out of. These camps, these resistance camps, are part of a very long history of resistance camps. And I think that we can move forward with a network of them so that they can't kill it. And even when people complain about certain people being the spokesperson for Hello, I think we're on the air now. Okay, sorry I lost everybody. Let's bring in Vincent and call the other people back. Sorry, we lost people there for a minute. Hey Vincent, you back?
Yes, I am. Let me kill this player over here. I guess that was on me where I dropped off.
Oh, I dropped off too, so...
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
well.
I did. So let's see if we can't bring them back in. T. Let's bring T back in. Okay. Yeah, sorry everybody, we dropped off there.
It was still playing through the player, so I was checking to see. I didn't know if it was my end or yours.
Okay, I'm going to get us back on Real Liberty as well. It's streaming on Real Liberty again.
Okay, good. I'll let everybody know.
Boom, just dropped like that. Just boom. Hello, we're back. I just suddenly lost my internet. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It was me. I lost my internet. Like, I couldn't even find my own hotspot. It was just, boom, just gone. Like, so I had to restart the phone and everything. But where was I? What were we talking about? What was going on? That was odd.
Well, I'll tell you here, one thing I wanted to get at, you were talking about unplugging people from the system, from the machine.
Isn't that
and
sinky?
But I would highly, I would like to recommend to all your listeners who have not done so as of yet, Megan and I were talking while we were off the air there. They told me that you referred to your blog, Psychopaths in Charge.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you, Kira, the impact that had on me. You and I have been friends now, I believe, for it's a little over a year now, right around a year.
Yeah.
And one of the first posts you shared after we became friends on Facebook was your blog. And the title alone hooked me, Psychopaths in Charge. And after reading the blogs and going through your excellent analysis of the current state of the world, you gave me a vocabulary I didn't possess before. When it came to talking about the world leaders who are psychopaths, the national leaders who are psychopaths, the men in our lives and women who are psychopaths on a personal level, and how to recognize them how to combat them, and how to live your life in as good a way as possible while recognizing we have to deal with these psychopaths. All your listeners, I strongly encourage you to read your blog and the others that you have links to. The information is out there on what is wrong, what can be done, and what is being done. You are an excellent source for this, Kira. I'm most proud of all the work you have done, even before DAPL, but particularly since we started fighting this black snake.
Thank you.
Please
so
continue
much.
to do what you're doing. I know you will. You know you have not just friends and allies out here, but you have family, real family. You, your husband, your son. You have a place out here in Lakota country. These two young women, Megan and Key, who I'm honored to sit with here and be on the show with you, know they have family now, not just friends. And when Lakota, or at least when this Lakota talks about family, people learn I mean it. And I don't do it lightly. I look for certain things in people. And one thing is fierceness. And I'm not talking about a physical fierceness. I'm talking about a mental and spiritual fierceness that is far more important than physical fierceness. Anybody can go up and be a violent badass and fight for what's right. But not everybody can have the mental strength and the spiritual capacity to stand strong when every instinct in your body is telling you to fight back violently, but you don't. You remain in prayer. You remain a soldier of peace. Abdul Salam. That is what we all need to strive for, to being soldiers of peace. And I'm very, very proud of this show, Kira, that we have this outlet to speak freely, speak our minds while we still can.
Yes, while we still can. And we've it's really strange how it all happened. I just figured that my voice was not supposed to be heard. I'm on the other side of the digital divide, and I happened to get some friends in Ireland who gave me a chance to try out my radio chops, and it's just really worked out. And I vowed from the beginning that I would provide a platform for others whose voices are not supposed to be heard in this matrix of control that we find ourselves in. So.
Yes, Kira, I really like the way you handle yourself, and to keep one's ego in check is a challenging thing, and you are most humble, and you are most open, and I know you take joy when others succeed.
I do.
And, thank you. Wopila Tacha for that, Kira. Wopila. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't need the credit.
I'm going to put you back on with the young women. I'm sorry, I've got to do something right now, Kira.
Okay. Love you.
Hi.
Hi. So T, is it T? And Megan?
Well, yeah, T and Megan.
Okay. I hear that as Megan's voice.
Yeah, it is. I'm here too. Hello.
Okay. Hey, man, that is T's voice. I have this thing where I can, once I hear someone's voice once, I will recognize it forever. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the same skill that allows me to catch the songs, the Lakota songs, even though I've never been fully immersed in Lakota language. I still am a keeper of songs that have been gifted to me, some Lakota songs.
Hi, Kira.
Hey, Vince.
Hey, I'd like to say hi to the girls. Hi, Theresa and Megan, and thanks for coming on, and thanks for being up there. I wanted to ask you all if you're on Facebook, and if so, if we can have your name so we could find you, and if you prefer to be quiet or private, that's fine too.
That is my producer du jour, Vincent Easley, asking for Facebook. Ways for people to get in touch with you if they want to connect in a more personal way. If you wish, you don't have to give that information if you don't want to.
Yeah, they can find me. Well, my name is spelled Medan, and then my last name is Awwad.
Medan. Whoops, I am in the wrong spot. Medan, and then what's your last name?
No, It's Megan.
Okay, good. I've been pronouncing it right the whole time. Okay, good. Megan. And the last name?
It's Awwad.
Awwad. Okay. And then you'll be like friends with Theresa and Unpa Numpa and things like that, right? Theresa will be a little bit harder to find. Theresa Martin.
Yep. Yeah, if you look up my name on Megan or Unpa Numpa's page, that's the easiest way to find it because there's like 300 of me on Facebook.
Right.
So but it's Theresa with an H, Theresa, Martin, Martin.
Excellent. We're really proud of you both, and I was hoping that Laura would be here tonight so that you guys could sing your songs.
I know.
Another wonderful thing about camp is the singing and just the vibe of really love. People can't get over it. You know, once they're there, and it's like it's such a weird juxtaposition of you're in this danger and you're under this anti-insurgent, floodlights and planes flying over and all this stuff is going on, but yet there's this overwhelming feeling of unity and love that's there that you've never experienced before. So even though you go through all of these things and it's hard to camp in the cold and all that, you still want to get back there so that you can be there with your people again. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think that definitely I would say that creating music out of being here at Standing Rock has been one of the most profound ways of expressing everything that's happening.
He is working on a really amazing song, and I think y'all should hear a little part of it.
Yeah, you want to sing a part of the song?
Okay, so it's in progress, but with Unpa and some others, I'm writing the 12 Days of DAPL as opposed to the 12 Days of Christmas. And I can't sing you the whole thing right now because we don't have all the lines written, but part of it will go something like, on the third day of Christmas, on the third day of DAPL, Morton County gave to me 3 rubber bullets, 2 cans of mace, 1 felony, and so forth.